Now, unfortunately for all of us, there's no magical formula for learning the best possible snare drum roll. I strongly urge you to experiment as much as possible with your tempos and bounces per stroke and all of these things. Everything I'm going to go over are suggestions that I found work well for me and many of my students. One thing you want to look out for early on, we don't want to achieve this buzz stroke, this compressed stroke on the head by pinching in the front and pushing into the head, which I see pretty frequently. It does result in a buzz stroke, and I think it's the easiest way to achieve that early on. But later on, you'll find now we've added a whole level of new coordination we need to go between non-buzzed rolls and our normal, single strokes and flams, which we're playing with our hand around the stick. So then we're getting a lot of switching in the back of the hand. So one way we can solve this puzzle, get buzz strokes without tension and without changing our fulcrum too much, is again restricting the back of the stick in the middle of our hand in the third and fourth fingers. So we talked about this with tap accent and how we can get a stop dead stroke by just sort of pulling in these fingers a little bit, and now I can leave the stick head exactly where I want without really any added tension. I'm just restricting the rebound in the back of the stick. So same thing with buzz stroke. Depending on how much I pull in here, I get doubles or triples. Or fours. And so on. So with a little bit of muscle training, this will become second nature, then you have no tension going between. And I'm not adding the coordination of popping elbows out or squeezing on the stick. Now, looking briefly at the graphs I've included in the introduction to closed rolls, where we go over the tempos and the suggestions for bounces per stroke. These are merely suggestions. That's why the tempos and the bounces are so broad in range. Experiment with them. Mainly you want consistency between hands and you want no tension. All we're trying to do really is play longer, slower strokes with more bounces on the head at the softer dynamics. So I'm thinking of a brush stroke and I'm keeping my tempo of 16ths per beat slower, somewhere around 100, a little bit lower, a little bit higher, depending on how it feels for you. I'm not pushing in too much, otherwise you get that nasal. So I'm just going for buzz strokes that are absolutely even between hands. Now as I get louder, I'm going to play faster 16ths. So somewhere around my fortissimo is going to be between 126 and 140. I have friends that go upwards of even 152, 160, whatever you're comfortable with. And many times, even though my standard loud might be somewhere around 140, it might be nice to have a slower, really fat, open triple stroke at the end of some rolls when I really need it to be loud. Or I might pull the triples and my tempo is around 120. So again, these are suggestions, really just experiment, and you want to practice enough to have control across all of these tempos and dynamics. So again, for the loud, now we're going for fours and usually triple strokes. So I'm not doing 5 and 6, these long buzzes of the soft, which is somewhere around 5 bounces per stroke. Now I'm going for triple strokes and maybe fours, depending on, again, what I'm playing. So a triple stroke, the easiest way, when you're practicing this, maybe take the snares off, because the buzzing and the ringing of the snares will really confuse your ear and make you feel better about your roll. And we want to make sure we're not sneaking in any fours when we're just trying to do threes or anything like that. So I like to practice with the snares off and a towel across the back. Then you can really hear the strokes a lot cleaner. So I'm going for tick-a-dit, 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 and same in the left. And then obviously always just going for consistency. Now getting into a couple of the specific exercises I've included Shosty rolls, which is named after Shostakovich, and his tendency for writing very fast 16th note passages mixed with short but loud rolls. So we find, somewhere around 150 and above, it becomes very difficult to keep our rolls based in 16th notes, which we really like to do as percussionists. So most of us will need to switch between 16ths and then triplet based rolls. So the Shosty rolls obviously attacks exactly that, and it looks like this. So on, very good for working out the coordination of these time shifts. Moving on to Fulcrum rolls, we find that closed rolls add yet one more layer to our Fulcrum control needs, which we've addressed with double strokes and single strokes. Now we need to be able to add crushed buzzes to that. So we've got our Fulcrum control going from singles, doubles, triple strokes, and now into crushed buzzes. Beyond that, Fulcrum rolls gives us all of the variations of going in and out of rolls that are challenging. We have rolls starting with accents, ending with accents, double strokes going into rolls, rolls ending into double strokes, and even invert accents going into rolls. So Fulcrum rolls is one of the more advanced exercises in the entire book, and you really want to make sure you've spent enough time getting comfortable in combination strokes, inverts, maybe those advanced diddle control exercises before you make yourself too frustrated with this exercise. You need to be ready with all of the others. So Fulcrum rolls is really nice at very soft, mezzo forte, and very loud, and range your tempos based on those graphs and how you've found experimenting with yourself where you like those dynamics to sit. So somewhere around a forte, I'd say 120. And you'll notice the alternate sticking, which will significantly up the difficulty of this exercise. So I hope that you remain patient and continue to experiment as you practice these roll exercises.